Roll, please.
Mr. Birch.
Here.
Mr. Flynn. Ms. Johnston. Mr. Tromley. Mr. Starr.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Ms. Osiander.
Here.
Ms. Gray Jackson.
Honored to be here.
Mr. Honeman.
Present.
Mr. Traney is en route. Ms. Drummond.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Very good. Mr. Tromley, will you lead us in a pledge? Thank you. We have some minutes before us. May 20th is the first one. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes for May 20th, 2011 are adopted. Now the minutes of June 14th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? Is there any objection to adoption? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes for June 14th, 2011 are adopted.
Madam Chair, if I could just make a comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Drummond.
I think it's marvelous that we're completely caught up with minutes.
It is.
Congratulations to the clerk's office and the minutes clerk.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We completed last week, which could only be titled International Week, with 40 ambassadors in town, followed by our delegation from Incheon, celebrating our 25th anniversary of our sister city, preceded by a separate visit from the British ambassador. And just was really a great opportunity for Anchorage to showcase our beauty, our economy, and just build relationships with literally 40 ambassadors from all over the world. And the weather was spectacular. I couldn't imagine a better tourism promotion than having those folks in town, and so that was terrific. And so I know some of you got a chance to participate in some of the events, and again, just it was a real treat to have everybody in town. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, and one more thing, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. I don't know if everybody heard, but the RCA did rule on the many years' worth of deliberation over the MUSA case with AWWU, and the city did prevail, which is absolutely tremendous news for the city to have that $50 million liability not in front of us, although I had a chance to talk to the governor today and asked him if he could please make sure his attorney general does not challenge the decision, because we could go through the whole court battle one more time again if they decide to question the decision. So it's not final, but we're very pleased with the ruling.
Yeah, that is good news, Mr. Mayor. It's been a worry ever since I think I've been on this body, so thank you.
Me too. Thanks.
I do have several things to share with you. The first one is, as I'm sure everyone in the community is aware, we had a tragedy this week where we lost a valuable municipal employee. We are going to do a special resolution in recognition of that fact, but I promised the family that we'd do that resolution at 5:30 time certain, because there's some family members who are not very well. So if there's no objection from the body, I'd like to ask your indulgence to do that. Also, as you look at the agenda tonight, on item 9 Delta 6, which is that purchase order for as-needed building materials, we will continue on at the request of the administration. There is also a new version, an S1 version of the Boards and Commissions ordinance, and the basic change in that S1 version is it incorporates some changes requested by the superintendent of the school district, and it changes the Women's Commission and the Youth Commission so that they're sunsetted so we can deal with them later instead of actually terminating those. The other item that I wanted to draw to your attention is item 14D for Delta. Apparently we made an error in when we initially put this on the agenda of the tax ID number. On that item, that's the disposal for a parcel of property, and so we will carry that over and not actually vote on that tonight. That's all I've got. Ms. Drummond, do you have any committee report you'd like to share?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You surprised me. I was pleased to be included in the various international festivities last week, as well as the mayor noted, and in particular the Incheon, Korea sister city was an amazing little celebration in the sun, and with tourists all around wondering what the heck was going on 4th Avenue and E Street, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to participate in that. And I unfortunately was just a few yards back from where Mr. Crump died in the parade on Saturday, and I'm pleased that we're honoring him tonight. It was a traumatic event for hundreds, if not thousands, of people on Saturday, and this community is sadder for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And the record can reflect that Mr. Trainee has joined us. Mr. Trainee, do you have anything you'd like to
Thank you, ma'am. Nothing.
Mr. Honeman?
Yeah, we had the continuation of the ad hoc on the taxi availability, particularly where it pertains to off-the-road program. Rankwich Char, and I think we're getting zeroed closer and closer. We should be having some sense, not sure that we need any changes in code at this time, but we're working through several issues, and the municipality could assist in some ways, but we believe the industry is both alcohol industry and the taxi cab industry can work a little better, and we think there can be some amendments and changes and adjustments there and would likely meet some of the challenges. Also at the Public Safety Commission, Public Safety Committee meeting, we had the Obesity Task Force was reviewed and revisited with some great information, and I talked to Peter Mules, and the Health Department's staff came and actually very well received very good information, which I think deserves some closer attention here in the near future as well. And then lastly, I'm sorry I wasn't able to make both the work session or any information last week with the International Week, if you will. I was in the Community Policing through Environmental Design class Tuesday through Friday, and as it pertains to Title 21 and potentially how to make our community safer and better, and I think that's very good information we learned. I'm hoping to work and collaborate more with the Planning Department. There were a couple of Planning Department officials there, as well as even some other law enforcement and landscape architects from both Seattle and from around the state. So I found very, very good class.
You better be careful, Mr. Holman. I'm going to try to recruit you for the Title 21 committee.
May be willing to serve, but right now I know there's some good interest from the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to report to everyone in the Municipal Audit Committee especially that we have an ad hoc committee on the police and fire retirement audit scheduled for July 8th between 10 and 11. And please note that it is not a committee of the whole, so you don't need to try and fix your schedules. It is simply Ms. Ucera, Mahoney, Everett Robbins, Dennis Wheeler, and our attorney and myself. If you want to come, that's fine. July 8th, 10 to 11. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
No report.
Mr. Starr?
I have no report, but I'd like to shamelessly plug the Bear Paw Festival, which starts on July 6th. We won't have another meeting here. It's 6th through the 10th, which is a Wednesday, through the following Sunday, and there is a tremendous parade on the 9th of July. So I encourage all of those to mark their calendars and look Debbie and I up on the streets of Eagle River. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trombley? Ms. Johnston?
Yes, we'll be having our first committee meeting of the Enterprise Oversight Committee on July 19th, and this will be to discuss how we're going to approach the budgets of our enterprise units. And also, I've been working with our leadership, having a work session on the port, basically the long-term financials of the port. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn?
Just glad Ms. Johnson is scheduling those meetings instead of me. There's nothing else to report.
Ms. Birch?
I would just echo the comments of others regarding the good fortune we had of having the deputy mayor and a number of other representatives from our sister city in Korea, and having an opportunity to share and discuss a wide range of issues, among them whether or not they had fluoride in their city water. Since the vice mayor was a dentist, I was kind of interested in his perspective. They do not, but they're hoping to. The other meetings went to a breakfast with the chamber group on to where we had an opportunity to meet with a number of the visiting ambassadors, and it was a fascinating group, and just reminds us that we are at the air crossroads of the world when we see that type of activity and initiative. So, anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the addendum is before us, as well as some late-on-the-table items.
Move to incorporate.
Thank you. Would it be acceptable if we also incorporated one that just was passed out, which is a resolution appropriating when tendered the State of Alaska grants in SB 46? Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
acceptable to the body?
Acceptable.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk? Yeah, well, I'm going to read all those.
What numbers?
All right, there's a motion to incorporate the addendum and the late on the table items. So I'll go through those real briefly. 9A1 AR 177 is a resolution of the Assembly recognizing and honoring Scott Schnell for 38 days. 38 days. You wish, Scott, right? Yeah. 38 years of dedicated service to the municipality of Anchorage. A2 is AR 178. This is a resolution of the Assembly recognizing and honoring Tom Holton for 32 years of service to the municipality of Anchorage. A3 is AR 179. This is a resolution recognizing and honoring Dolores L. Jack for over 40 years of service with the municipality of Anchorage. A4 is AR 180, a resolution of the Assembly honoring and remembering William C. Knoll. And then under C in our agenda, 9C2 is AM 381, recommendation of award to Fauner Corporation for Alexander Avenue RID, Noreen Street to Columbine Street, Public Works Department, to the tune of $1,455,641.85. For introduction, F5 AR 181, a resolution authorizing an amount not to exceed $6,300,000 as an interfund loan from the Equipment Maintenance Fund 601 to the Information Technology Fund 607, appropriating said funds to the Information Technology CIP Fund 608 for the purchase and implementation of a new financial, human resource purchasing, budgeting, and payroll enterprise resource planning system. Public hearing 7/12, and that is accompanied by AM 382. Under old business, under 11A1 AM 380, we have a version AO65. It's an ordinance authorizing a limited delegation of downtown enforcement parking violations to the Anchorage Community Development Authority, and that's accompanied by an amendment that will be presented, which with that from Vice Chair Hall and Assemblyman Birch. Under new public hearings, Mr. Flynn has also presented a floor amendment to AO64S. On the late on the table items, there is another resolution for action, A5. This is AR 183. It's a resolution of the Assembly remembering, recognizing, and honoring the life of James L. Crump. 9C3 is Assembly Memorandum 384. This is a recommendation of award to Richard Phillips Marine Incorporated for wharf pile repairs 2011 for the Municipality of Anchorage Public Works Department. This is for the Port of Anchorage, and it's $1,159,999.84. Under continued public hearings, Ms. Gray Jackson has presented some additional amendments to AO61S. For new public hearings, 14A4, there is an S1 version that I mentioned previously to the ordinance on boards and commissions, and a floor amendment to that is also included from Assemblyman Flynn. And then the additional late on the table item is the one that I mentioned earlier. It will be 9B3 on your agenda. It is a resolution of the Anchorage Municipality appropriating when tendered the State of Alaska grants listed in SB 46. Is there any, oh, we've already got that before us. So now, at this point, we were at the consent agenda. Is there any objection to incorporation of those items? Seeing none, that's incorporated. And the consent agenda is before us. If I could have a motion. Thank you. All right, Mr. Birch, we'll start with you this time. Is there anything you would like to discuss?
I would like to pull, was it A4?
I'm sorry, sir?
Yep.
I didn't hear you.
He said Alpha 4.
Thank
A4,
you.
thank you.
That's on the addendum?
Yes.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Birch?
No, thank you.
Mr. Flynn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. From the late on the table items, 9 Alpha 5.
Alpha 5, thank you. Ms. Johnston?
No, thank you.
Mr. Trombley?
9 Alpha 2 and 9 Charlie 3.
Okay. All right. Mr. Starr?
No items.
Mr. Hall?
96.
Thank you. Delta 6, that item that was going to be continued. Anything else, Mr. Hall?
No.
Ms. Craig Jackson?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Honeman?
9 Alpha 1
9 Alpha 1 on the addendum.
on the addendum, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Trainee?
Nothing, ma'am.
Ms. Drummond?
I believe the items I needed pulled have been pulled, but I'll wait until you review them because you're going awful fast.
Okay. Thank you. Did you, I think you meant to pull A3, Ms. Drummond, is that correct? Were you reading on that one?
Yes, that's right.
All right, so,
Thank you.
all right. All right, here's what I have so far. On the regular agenda, the only item pulled was 9 Delta 6. On the addendum, we have 9 Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, and Alpha 4. And then on the table items, we have 9 Alpha 5 and 9 Charlie 3. Did I miss anything? Okay, it appears not. So at this point, please vote on the remainder of the consent agenda. That is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. The first item before us then is 9 Alpha 1. Mr. Schnell, would you come forward, please? Oh, I need a motion, though.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing none, that item is approved. Who's reading?
This is a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring Scott D. Schnell for his 38 years of dedicated service to the municipality of Anchorage. And this is Assembly Resolution number 2011-177. Whereas Scott came to work for the Greater Anchorage Area Borough in 1971 as a summer seasonal employee, Street Maintenance Division. After the completion of basic training in the National Guard, Scott was hired full-time in early 1972. During the next 4 years, Scott received valuable training and became proficient on all equipment which warranted his promotion to a heavy equipment operator. And whereas from 1979 to 1984, Scott was designated as a crew lead man, which was responsible for the welfare and safety of the crew while performing a myriad of maintenance activities, and in 1985 he was promoted to crew supervisor. And whereas in 1986, Scott was assigned to the Chugach-Birchwood Eagle River Rural Road Service Area to serve as a road foreman on a 6-month trial basis. Within 3 months, Scott applied and was selected for the aforementioned program Subsera general foreman's position. And whereas Scott immediately set out to make improvements and start long-range planning efforts, his first mission was to change how contracts were administered to protect tax dollars. He consolidated 4 existing contracts into one, which resulted in faster and more economical service. And whereas under his leadership, winter maintenance and drainage solutions were tackled together since one had a direct bearing on the other. On more than one occasion, Scott dangled from mountain roads during winter operations. Therefore, he had a vested interest in fixing those long-standing issues. And whereas in 1987 through 1994, the Eagle River area was designated PM10 non-attainment by the EPA dust air quality standards, he worked directly with the Service Area Board and with the administration to develop Anchorage's first recycled asphalt program to mitigate dust and high-cost maintenance on 111 miles of unpaved roads. His vision and planning were rewarded with a merit award from Mayor Tom Fink. And whereas Scott played an integral role with the Road Board in expanding the service area's capital improvement program to include drainage projects, traffic and road safety projects, and maintenance reduction projects, all this additional work was absorbed by existing staff and resulted in substantial cost savings to the service area. This also provided stability to the service area maintenance contracts. And whereas Scott was awarded the Employee of the Year Award in 1998 for developing leading-edge programs and providing sound, long-term solutions to maintenance problems that had plagued the service area for many years. And whereas for 23 years, as Subsera's general foreman, Scott always stayed within budget and handled the tough issues passed on to him by others. Scott's drive for his entire 38 municipal career was to improve this city by providing more efficient methods and dedicated service to the taxpayers. Now, therefore, the Anchorage Assembly recognizes the many contributions and honors Scott D. Schnell for his 38 years of dedicated service to the municipality and the citizens of Anchorage, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this 28th day of 2011.
I guess I just want to thank the Greater Anchorage Area Borough where I started, and then the municipality of Anchorage after that. The municipality has provided a lot of opportunities for me to advance my career and provide for my family, and I'll be forever grateful for that. My wife and I were kind of fading into the sunset here as far as our role here in Anchorage. But we're contributing 8 kids and 12 grandkids to the community as we kind of step back, and we're going to let them contribute from here. So thank you all. I also wanted to acknowledge the Road Board rep. The community of Eagle River in 1985, they had a vision of consolidating their community, bringing their community together, consolidating 4 or 5 different road service areas and forming one service area. And although it got off to a little rocky start in 1985, I did enjoy, and I took it as a big challenge, to participate in bringing that community together and formulating contracts, maintenance programs, and policies that brought them all together, pulling in one direction. And I think they have a lot to be proud of out there. It's a great community, and I think they got a great road system. So thank you.
Wait a minute. Mr. Honeman.
Yes, Mr. Schnell. And I thought it was very appropriate. I got a chance to read this tonight, and I'm sorry for messing up the Subsera instead of Subsera. I know that you and I worked together with hockey, and our children, played on some teams, and obviously throughout the community, I've enjoyed and appreciated my contacts with you personally, and I just want to commend you for all your years and many more years than I did at the municipality, and this city's better for your working with it. So thank you very much for all your years of service. Thank you.
Ms. Drummond.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Schnell. I too appreciate, especially the fact that you have saved this community millions and millions of dollars with recycled asphalt paving. That is a true contribution to the life and the health and the pocketbook of this community. So thank you very much.
Scott, thank you, thank you, thank you. You get 3 of them, boy. I have appreciated you so much. You're missed. Thank you very much. (982)
Second.
Is there objection? Hearing and seeing none, that one's approved. Tom, your turn.
Thank you. Bill?
A resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring Tom W. Holton for his 32 years of service to the municipality of Anchorage. Whereas Tom began working for the municipality on April 3rd, 1979 as a heavy equipment operator within the street maintenance division, he brought 11 years of private construction experience to the municipality, which included runway construction, road construction, and numerous large utility and drainage projects. And whereas he was chosen for the division expediter position in 1985, which greatly broadened his knowledge of street maintenance operations, procurement requirements, and municipal policies. And whereas in 1987, Tom applied and was selected as the Chugach Birchwood Eagle River Road Service Area Road Supervisor. This position made Tom the point person between the Subursa contractors and the municipality for over 23 years. And whereas Tom was a perfect fit as a team member working for and with Scott Schnell, Scott, the straight one, and Tom, the ultimate comedian and prankster. And whereas Tom was a critical link in and on the ground success of the recycled asphalt program within Subursa, upgrading 111 miles of unpaved roads to mitigate dust and high-cost maintenance. It also provided a great driving service for the public. And whereas Tom was instrumental in maintenance activities and capital projects that were performed by several Subursa contractors, he also had the privilege in teaching hundreds of operators the process and safety procedures of performing snow and ice removal operations on steep mountain roads within the area. And whereas Tom was a daily steward of the tax dollars under his control, over the 20 years, Tom learned the underground flows of the steep slopes and came up with creative, low-cost solutions to many long-standing drainage and maintenance issues. And whereas Tom was totally dedicated to his municipal career for the last 23 years, he made Subursa his first priority. He would be in the area hours before the public got up to commute, checking roads, ensuring everything possible was done to keep the area streets safe for traffic regardless of weather conditions. Now, therefore, the Anchorage Assembly recognizes the many contributions and honors of Tom W. Holton for his 32 years of dedicated service to the municipality and citizens of Anchorage, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this 28th day of June, 2011.
Thank you. And just to kind of echo what Scott said, I've had a lot of privileges, and one of them was working for Eagle River. It was a journey for both Scott and I. We know that when we went out there, because when he first asked, "Hey, Tom, would you like to come out?" I looked at him and said, "Are you crazy?" Okay, because everything looked like a driveway. There was no street name signs except for the EMS ones, and so it was kind of fun memorizing every one of those streets before we got enough funding, because there was no money out there to put street name signs up. But it's been quite a journey. Anchorage has been very good with me. I came in with Mayor Sullivan's father, and I guess it's just apropos that I go out with Mayor Sullivan. So I appreciate everything that's happened for me in my career, my family, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Hold on a minute, Tom. Mr. Honeman?
Tom, just wanted to say thank you for your many years of service. I know that the fact's not lost on me. I just did the quick math. I'm not the best in math, but 70 years in street maintenance in Eagle River, Birchwood area. I know that's a ton of experience to lose on one particular fell swoop, but I, for one, appreciate all the work that's done. It didn't matter who the mayor is or who the assembly persons are. You're, as I said in here, you're getting up every morning, making sure the roads are safe out there, and that fact is not lost on me, and hope not on the public as well. So thank you for your many years of your service.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
Mr. Starr?
Well, those that know me up on this body, I rarely speak. I usually let the resolutions do that, but I remember one of my first assignments, and I became elected here, was to wade through the storm drain system, and we had a major flood, and I got Tom on his cell phone, and it was 11:30 at night, and I was standing probably 2.5 feet of water, and I said, "Tom, where are you?" And he says, "Well, I'm down here at this catch basin. I'm going to stay here all night, and I'm going to keep this catch basin open." And I think that saved people's garages and people's homes, but it was early on I saw the dedication, which well beyond just picking up the phone and calling somebody else. You guys were out there for that. So the comment and the dedications need to be underlined and underscored, because it sets a healthy precedent for our level of quality, and your dedication to us. It sets a precedent and the bar very high. The other thing I noticed, both of you, Tom and Scott, have a high recognition for what we do out there for our service areas and our respect for that. Gail Dial, of course, is no longer here on earth, but you guys had tremendous respect for the processes of our service areas and our leadership of the board. Linda Kovac can speak to some of those challenges that come with that independent leadership, but it's our unique characteristics, and I'll just keep pushing hard to continue to push that model out there. We've also got a very nice transition, and I speak clearly because you spent a little extra time. I know you wanted to depart, but you gave us a nice transition to the other leadership that's taken over now, and we have seamless road maintenance out there. So very much thank you for all of that, and it sets a very good example for what we expect from our city employees, and you raise the bar very high. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A minute, Tom. Hold on. Mr. Trombley.
It says here that you're the ultimate comedian and prankster.
Not me. No, sir. I've been called up in front of directors, mayors,
I was just wondering
people.
if you could explain any pranks.
No,
Okay.
my jokes
All right.
get me in too much
Not
trouble.
the public record. Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Is that it?
I just want to add, both of these gentlemen know every single street corner in Chugiak Eagle River. I've lived out there almost 40 years, and boy, do they know a lot more than I do. Thank you so much, both of you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Flynn,
I'd like to move to change the order today, take up item 9, Alpha 5.
thank you, sir. Is
Second.
there any objection? Seeing no objection, we're changing the order of the day. Go ahead with that, Mr. Flynn.
And if representatives from Mr. Crump's family wish to come
Well, we
down.
need a motion first, sir.
Oh, sorry. Somebody already moved.
Move to approve.
Is there any objection? Seeing none. This is a resolution recognizing and honoring the life of James Crump. And you certainly don't have to stand if it's not easy for you, but we appreciate it.
Madam Chair, am I to read?
Are you reading it?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Whereas James L. Crump, R.N., worked for the Municipality of Anchorage Department of Health and Human Services and loyally served Anchorage citizens in need. And whereas James Crump, at age 50, exemplified public service through his dedication in treating and taking care of tuberculosis clients and their families. And whereas through public education and TB prevention efforts, James Crump served as a health advocate for all Anchorage residents. And whereas his enthusiasm for the department and his colleagues was evident in his valuable participation as a member of the safety team, a volunteer on the holiday committee, and his dedication to making sure every potluck celebration and meeting was successful. Whereas on Saturday, June 25, 2011, only minutes after it began, Anchorage's annual Pride Parade ended in tragedy with the accidental death of James L. Crump, a loved member of the Anchorage LGBT community. And whereas James is and will be greatly missed by all who knew him as their caregiver, colleague, and friend, along with his commitment to excellence, which will not be easily replaced. And whereas the Anchorage Municipal Assembly joins the Anchorage community in mourning this loss. Now therefore be it resolved, the Anchorage Assembly remembers, recognizes, and honors James L. Crump, passed and approved this day.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if applause is appropriate now, but our hearts go out to you. It's a tragedy for the whole city.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. James came here to Alaska to find himself, and he decided to stay here to share himself with the community he loved. Thank you.
We appreciate you coming for us. Thank you.
If I could just add that James has been a tremendous asset to the public health in this community, and we at the department deeply mourn his loss. You'll see there are many department employees behind me who came out tonight, and it's my privilege and pleasure to have been the director of this department, especially because of the strong dedication of our staff, especially people like James and others who are here this evening, but especially it's a very sad time at DHHS because of the loss of James. Appreciate you taking the time to recognize him.
It was a shock to all of us. Thank you. Thank you for coming. think we're going to pause for just a minute here. All right. The next item before us is AR3. This is Resolution 179. It's a resolution of the Assembly recognizing and honoring Dolores L. Jack for over 40 years of service with the municipality.
Move to approve.
Is there any objection? Hearing and seeing none, that is unanimously approved. Ms. Jack, are you here? Could you come forward, please? Is there any? Thank you. And who's reading?
Whereas, on March 23, 1971, Dolores L. Jack was hired by the Municipality of Anchorage Purchasing Department, where she has worked continuously until her retirement on June 30, 2011. And whereas Ms. Jack has held and excelled in each progressive position within the Purchasing Department, from Clerk 1, Clerk 2, Clerk 3, Office Associate, Senior Office Assistant, Junior Administrative Officer, and in her final position at the time of her retirement as Senior Administrative Officer. And whereas during her career she was part of and contributed to the unification of the Borough of Anchorage and the City of Anchorage into the Municipality of Anchorage, the transition from paper records to monitors, and the day-to-day use of personal computers, the transition from the homegrown legacy operating system to the PeopleSoft record-keeping system. And whereas Ms. Jack has the distinction of having the longest membership in the Anchorage Municipal Employees Association, Incorporated, at the present time. And whereas during her career she has provided administrative support to the buying staff and supported the various departments by purchasing many and varied commodities, including playground equipment from Parks and Recreation, transformers and other power generation and transmission equipment for Municipal Light and Power, office supplies, furniture, equipment for all departments, custodial and other services, and most recently communication equipment and information technology equipment and services. And whereas her dedication and commitment to excellence for herself and fellow staff has contributed to the indelible mark she's left on the department and the people she served, from the citizens of this great community to the vendors who have provided commodities and services to the Municipality of Anchorage. Ms. Jack is noted for her willingness to extend herself for the benefit of all the municipal departments she has served. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Anchorage Municipal Assembly honors and recognizes Dolores L. Jack for over 40 years of commitment, dedication, and services to the citizens and municipality of Anchorage, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this day. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chairperson and other Assembly persons, I was a little hesitant about coming forth and accepting this recognition because it's something that is not within me to accept. It's not an easy thing to accept. But I do thank everyone for recognizing me and for the work that I've done over the past 40 years. It is ironic that, as Tom has said, I started with the City of Anchorage under Mayor George Sullivan, and I'm retiring under his son, Mayor Sullivan. But it's been an honor and it's been a joy, and I've enjoyed working and had wonderful, fantastic 5 former bosses and a current wonderful and fantastic current boss. And I think that if it was not for them, I don't know how much longer I would have been employed doing what I found that I really loved doing. They have been wonderful, and I appreciate the opportunity that they have given me and believed in me and believed in what I could do. And for the teachings that they've provided me, I've learned a lot, and I will be leaving here with a lot of knowledge of things that I remember. The first purchasing officer that I learned, he said, "You learn something every day in this field of procurement." And I will say, after the 40 years, he is correct. But I do thank each and every one of you, and I do thank my current boss, Fred Kaltenbach, my former boss, Bart Malden. I thank them very much, and I thank each and every one of you, and I appreciate it. It's been an honor. Thank you.
We do have some questions and comments. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. I was going to speak to both Scott Palm and Dolores all at once, but the other two have already left. But I just really appreciate your service to the city. You went through literally historical times watching the city transform into the combined city and borough, becoming a municipality, and your role in that, as well as Scott and Tom, just quite a legacy. And 110 years of experience we're losing, Madam Chair, and it's going to be tough to replace. And good luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Honeman.
Mr. Mayor, you got the 110 math. I did, again, not the best in math, but I was doing it over here. The 40 years, gosh, we must have hired you out of the crib because you don't look a day over 30, really. It's amazing. So
I thank you.
It's just phenomenal. Again, 110 years with the service collectively, 40 years. I know very few people that make 40 years in any industry, any career, anywhere. And so that in and of itself speaks huge volumes for you because you were able to stick around and, as you see lots of, I'm sure, improvement through technology doing your job as well. So the most valuable, we have many resources in this municipality, but the most valuable resources are human resource. And so good luck in your retirement, and I just wish you many, many years of blessed and success there. So I just thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Dee Dee.
Hello.
In the private industry, when you work for 40 years or even less, sometimes you get a gold watch. So this is really okay. And I've known Dee Dee for not the whole 40 years because I started in 83, but I've known you since 83, and I've worked closely with you. And you've done a wonderful, wonderful job for the department and for the citizens in this community. And I congratulate you on a job well done. And I wish you well, Dee Dee. And I want to take this opportunity to just mention Scott and Tom, who received recognition for their years of service. I did not know them personally, but I want to thank them and, frankly, the rest of the municipal employees who haven't retired yet for the job that you do for the citizens of Anchorage. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I want to share in offering you congratulations, but admit that you made me a little nervous when you said you learned something every day for 40 years. And when I look at Bart back there, who we are missing, Fred, who says he's going to be going, and now you, Mr. Mayor, please help the purchasing department. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you each.
The next item before us is item A4, AR-180, a resolution honoring and remembering William Knoll.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any objection to adoption? Seeing none, that's approved unanimously. Is there a representative from Mr. Knoll's family? Okay. Go ahead.
This is a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly honoring and remembering William C. Knoll. Whereas William Bill C. Knoll served as Commissioner of the State of Alaska Department of Commerce and Economic Development from March 2005 through January 2007. And whereas Knoll also served as Deputy Commissioner of Economic Development and International Trade during the second Hickel administration. And whereas Knoll served as both mayor and city councilman for the city of Seward and was a founding president and a 13-year board member of the Alaska Sea Life Center, and whereas Knoll was a member of the Alaska Korea Business Council and the Alaska District Export Council, And whereas Noel was a native New Yorker, but became an Alaskan at heart once he found his way north, and whereas Noel continually demonstrated enthusiasm and commitment to advancing Alaska's economic interests and improving Alaskans' quality of life, and whereas Alaskans are grateful for his years of service and cherish many fond memories of the man with a quick laugh and a ready smile. Now, therefore, the Anchorage Municipal Assembly resolves that William C. Noel is honored and remembered for his commitment, dedication, and service to the people and the state of Alaska, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this day. Thank you.
On behalf of Bill Noel and his family, I know he would be so appreciative of this recognition that you've given him today. He definitely was an advocate for Alaska, and it didn't matter where we were in the world. He always had something on him that said Alaska, so people got to know about the state. And, of course, he had a lot to tell them about the state as well. He would be deeply honored. I know that he's humbled by your recognition, and the family certainly thanks you so much for the outpouring of appreciation that we've received for his work here in Alaska. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, you had a comment?
Just wanted to say thank you for coming out this evening. I got to know Bill when he was on the board at the railroad, and I was working there, and we worked together on, unsurprisingly, some coal activities.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a valuable resource for me in learning about that trade, and he will be missed.
Thank you.
Mr. Honeman.
Pretty much the same comments here. I know the commissioner. I met him at several events and functions. I know he's a big, strong supporter of public safety as well. I know he has several functions there. So he has this large hand and footprint all over Alaska. I know that, and he'll be deeply missed. A good mentor for all. Thank you.
Mr. Trombley?
Just wanted to say that I had a chance to work with Bill, and his smile was amazing. Every time you saw him, just a big smile on his face, and no matter what was going on, he always had a way to make you laugh. So just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. He was quite a rascal, but he had a he had a great twinkle in his eye at all times and that great smile. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming. Right. We are now down to 9C3. C3 on the agenda. This is AM 384. It's a recommendation of award to Richard Phillips Marine Incorporated for wharf pile repairs, Municipality of Anchorage Public Works Department for the port. $1,159,999.84.
Move to approve.
Second.
The reason I brought this forward was just because, is there anyone here to speak, to answer any questions about this?
Mr. Michaelis, who would you like to speak to this?
We have someone from the port that can address it, as well as Mr. Collenbach. It depends on what the question is.
Well, my question is I deal with corrosion in the oil field, and so when I see steel pipes that are obviously buried in a saltwater environment, obviously you're going to have corrosion. I'm just wondering, we're replacing this for roughly $1.2 million. Is there a reason why we don't have any type of anodic protection involved in there instead of it's basically a sacrificial anode that corrodes as opposed to replacing this for $1.2 million over a period of years?
For the record, I'm Steve Rebuffo, the Deputy Port Director, and I am not an engineer, and I practice without a license quite a bit, so I guess I'm going to do that again tonight. The portion of the dock that we are talking about here is the oldest part of it. It's over 50 years old. The cathodic protection has worn away years ago. And cathodic protection on piles is expensive to replace because the anodes have to connect to every single pile. So because we had the expansion problem, the expansion project underway, we knew that what we would be doing from this point forward would be an annual remediation of attempting to keep the problem from getting any worse while that portion of the dock was still required to be used, knowing that it would be replaced eventually.
So am I correct in hearing that anotic or cathodic protection, having the sacrificial anodes, is just not a possibility in this situation? I understand that they corrode over time.
No, I appreciate that, and the fact of the matter is it is less expensive to do the sleeves on the piles and repair the worst of the problem piles than it would be to invest in cathodic protection for the entire portion of the dock that doesn't have it anymore.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything, Ms. Drummond?
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to observe that this is probably something that the Assembly has approved every summer since I've been elected, and I'm sure since the rest of you who have been here longer than I have done the same thing. This is one of the reasons why the port is being rebuilt. Am I correct?
No, you're correct at that.
And I think this is part of a planned replacement program or repair program that happens every summer.
That's correct.
Okay. How many piles are there altogether?
I want to say there's over 5,000.
And you repair how many each summer?
We repair anywhere between 29 and 40, depending upon what the cost turns out to be for a given year. R&M, our contracted engineering services contractor, has done an analysis of all the dock piles, and if corrosion stopped today and we just did the repairs on the ones that were identified for repair, we'd have 17 years of work ahead of us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Please vote. That item passes unanimously. We're now at 9 Delta 6. This is AM 378, change order number 3 to purchase order 201-00211 with Honeywell Building Solutions to provide building control materials and services on an as-required basis for $150,000.
Move to continue to our next meeting.
Second.
Is there objection to that? Seeing none, that will be continued. At this point, we are through the consent agenda, and we will be taking our regular dinner break. We'll be back in about 20 to 30 minutes. We are in recess. Assembly. And note that I neglected to mention that item that was laid on the table regarding the state grant resolution. The public hearing on that is July 12th. At this point, we are at item 11A on the agenda. This is an ordinance AO65 authorizing a limited delegation of downtown enforcement of parking violations. And the record shows that the public hearing was closed, and there was a motion to approve by Mr. Honeman, and then there was an amendment made by Mr. Traney to add a new subsection D, and that amendment passed. And then we were at amending the effective date, and that passed. And then the last one was Mr. Flynn moved to amend to delete line 18 and 19. The comma and the terms is not limited to. And that one passed. And you've got a summary of all that on this yellow sheet. And if you remember, we got stalled on the term improper parking. And so, Mr. Hall, should I turn it to you? You had an amendment to clarify, I think?
I do. We have an Amendment 1, actually page 2, lines 13 to 32, and it's got replacement in it. And basically what it does is it lays out very clearly what the authority and the enforcement capabilities that the ACDA will have in regards to parking. It makes it also gives very clear direction in regards to booting, which was a concern for Mr. Flynn and Mr. Birch and myself, that we did not want the enforcement people out booting cars. However, it does still leave the ability to booting, but that's at the direction of the APD. That's basically what we covered in this, is clear direction as to what parking enforcement the ACDA is allowed to do.
All right, my screen shows Mr. Hall has moved that amendment and Mr. Birch has seconded it. So is there discussion on the amendment? Is everybody clear first on what the amendment is? All right, is there discussion on it? Mr. Honeman.
I'm going back in recollection, and I'm trying to find the amendment. I've got, under 11A, I didn't see the changes that were discussed, reference on back page under section C, line 13, but is not limited to, and I think there was some discussion, and I think Muni Legal are we on that matter at this time?
That's correct.
And I'm trying to find the amendment part for under that language.
Okay, the amendment was passed out on a sheet like, could you hold it up, Mr. Hall? Or?
I give him my copy.
Thank you, Mr. Craney. Thank you. Do you need any further clarification
No, that's
on
it.
the amendment?
Thank
you. All right. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Okay. At this time, please vote on Mr. Hall's amendment. And that passes unanimously. All right, we're back to the main matter as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none? Mr. Flynn, you're in queue.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Hall for developing this Assembly memorandum, which is accompanying this legislation. I think it does a nice job of encapsulating our expectations and will prove useful when we evaluate this in 3 years.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else in queue, please vote on the matter as amended. The main issue, sir. And that item passes 10-1. Thank you for your work on that, Mr. Hall. All right, we're now at item 13A, the amended personnel rules. This is AO 61, accompanied by Assembly Memorandum 293. Now, there's an S version and an S1 version. We opened the public hearing on this but continued it. So when you come forward to testify on this matter, you can speak to any of the 3 versions. So with that, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there a motion on the floor on that one? There must be, because it was continued and it's still open. All right, I'm going to reopen the public hearing on this matter. So if anybody would like to speak to any of the 3 versions of the personnel rules, please come forward.
Madam Chairman, my name is Ken Langford, Assembly members. My name is Ken Langford. I'm a superintendent over at Municipal Light and Power, working in power management, and I am a relief chief for power management, for distribution, and for gas control. Part of my duties also had to do with serving as a standby duty supervisor in the evening to restore power when you have power outages in MLP's territory, and disconnect power when there's an emergency that requires it. When I'm on standby, I'm required to be at the service of the utility and its customers. And maybe some of you have seen me out there, because at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning when your lights go out, I'm the first one on the scene. I'm here to discuss the administration's changing personnel rules that affect standby. It's near and dear to me because back in 2008, the standby pay provided to us for being at the service of the utility was 2 hours of standby pay for being there for the utility. And we would also, if we were called out during that standby period, we would also receive the standard overtime pay for being called out. This is no different than what you have in your union agreements. So the thing that bothers me here is that there was, back in 2008, we noticed that there was wording in there that said if you were called out, we would, the municipality would remove that 2 hours of standby and apply it to the call out. Well, I thought that was incorrect, that we were promised 2 hours to be on standby, to change our life, to be available for the utility, to not be with our family for whatever the family wanted to do, to serve as a standby foreman, and then give those hours up when we were called out. So several of us over at the utility grieved that and filed a grievance, and then Employee Relations Director Mr. David Otto found in our favor and said, yes, you shouldn't have that removed from you. One of the biggest things he made note of was that at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I was called out to go out and restore power, and I was done within 2 or 3 hours, which is usually, the case is usually 4 hours for a call out for us. But if we were done in 2 hours, we went back home and went right back on call out. And if there was another call out at 5 o'clock in the morning, we served again. And yet the rules said that we would lose our standby pay. So the grievance was in our favor, and the letter that we received from Mr. Otto stated that the next time that policies would change, but those changes would be made to those policies. Well, now we're finding out that that is not the case, and I'm here to ask that you see a change to that.
Okay. There's a number of questions, so I think you're going to have a little chance to talk a little more. Mr. Hall, you're first.
Yes. Appreciate your coming and testifying. I would point out to you that the standby pay has been pulled from the rules that we are addressing this evening. The administration is taking another look at that.
Okay.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What document are you referring to, Mr. Hall, where the standby? And I heard our chair mention 3 documents, but I only have 2. Is there an S1 version, Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
Really?
It should be on your table when you...
I see the
We'll
F
make
version.
sure you get it. All right, we'll make sure everybody gets it. And
so the standby is taken out of the document?
That was my
Okay, well-
understanding. Miss, would you like the administration clarify?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Gray Jackson. Could you clarify?
Madam Chairman, I'm unaware of an S1 version. We were still operating from the S version.
You know what? I'm thinking boards and commissions, aren't I? Ooh, I goofed. I am so sorry. I've been dealing with so many amendments on both of them. My deep apologies. There is not an S1 version on this one. I'm trying to keep all the amendments on boards and commissions straight. I apologize to you. Sorry. Anyway, no, the question was standby pay.
Right, Madam Chairman. The standby pay provision that had originally been proposed was pulled out of the S version. So there are no changes to the current standby pay practice in the S version.
The administration basically told us they wanted to do a study because it had such a wide variant impact on different employee groups, and so it would come in the future.
Madam Chair, might I ask, on this issue, and I know it's been pulled for the administration review, but might I ask, Mr. Langford, have you or your employee group similar in your agency been asked, either were you given a discussion, apparently not, on the personnel rule changes as a non-rep group?
Well, we were told that they were going to, we were told that the grievance of 2008, that almost all of the non-reps at MLP that serve standby, we were told that that grievance would not apply, that we go back to the original situation where standby pay would be removed when we reported on a call-out.
Okay, but my point is with any of these changes here communicated, did you have a meeting as an employee group of non-reps?
No.
Okay. Might I ask the administration, I think I asked this the last meeting, can't we not have, I mean, there's some valuable